Hi everybody, this is Joel, and this is
Joel.
and we're your lobbying team in Washington. What a crazy week! Should we use Scaramucci-like adjectives to describe this? I don't know that we have the technology to bleep out what we actually say.
Probably not, yeah.
So in the end, it was not going to tell you anything you couldn't get off the cable news network, so we want to talk about implications for your clients. But in the end, it was not one of the usual suspects, the Ted Cruz, the Mike Lee, the Dean Heller, that tanked this thing. It was John McCain at, 2:30 in the morning.
Who saw that coming?
Yeah, who saw that coming? So I do think you have to take Leader McConnell at his word that this is, he is moving on. And so is there potential for Lamar Alexander and Patty Murray, who's the ranking member of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, to work together? They have a history of working together on some stuff, on fixing the individual market and all that. But in the meantime, what's the number one takeaway for our broker members and their clients right now?
The takeaway right now, I think, is the Cadillac tax, right? Status quo. Right now, it's all status quo. So the Cadillac tax goes into effect in 2020, and we've got to prepare for that. Now, I don't think any leaders in Washington expect that to actually go into effect. I don't think anyone wants to go into effect. We've heard that from the top of the Democratic parties on both sides of the aisle, Republicans, leaders of the Senate Finance Committee, House Ways and Means Committee. I don't think anyone intends this to go into effect. So that said, we've got momentum on our side, I think, to actually get rid of this. We had a good vote in the Senate last night on an amendment that was, it was a meaningless vote, but it was somewhat bipartisan. We got 2 Democrats across the aisle to support Republicans repealing Cadillac tax. That's great. Historically, we have 90 senators on the record for supporting repealing the tax. So,
when you're referring to the Heller amendment to eliminate the Cadillac tax last night, yes, we won the vote, but largely along party line votes. But it's sort of like peeing in your pants when you're wearing a dark suit. It gives you a nice warm feeling, but nobody really notices. But all the Republicans, including a couple like McCain that historically have had antipathy toward the employer exception, have voted with Dean Heller. 2 notable Republicans have voted against us, and we're not happy about this. Our friend Bob Corker from Tennessee, Senator Ben Sasse, who we knew had a lot of baggage on trying to get rid of the employer-based group health insurance system. But then we only got 2 of your Democratic friends. Are you kidding me, Joel? I mean, we got Senator Martin Heinrich and Senator Catherine Cortez Masto. As you said, every single one of those Democratic senators is on the record as opposing the Cadillac tax. It was a throwaway vote, so are we going to go support all of these people now?
Look, it was a throwaway vote, and they were all, I'm surprised that Heinrich did not surprise me. It was his bill to begin with, right? Look, the cards were stacked against him to get his colleagues to vote for this thing. Schumer did a great job of making sure that every Democratic senator, aside from the 2 that actually voted for this thing, were only going to support motions to recommit. They were not going to be part of this process. That was, completely in the dark. No one thought that the skinny bill was good policy going forward. So, we're disappointed that they didn't all jump on board with the Cadillac tax. But
as our
politics,
as our executive friend Andy Impastato from Bancorp South said, 7 or 8 years ago, we were all talking about skinny networks, and then we were talking about skinny plans, and now we've been talking about a skinny bill. But that just all went into the ether. It was just a means through which they were trying to do a last gasp conference with the House that they could get to something that would be akin to true repeal and replace.
So I think the question is, where do we go from here, right? Yeah. Trump last night tweeted that he's going to let the markets implode, he's going to let Obamacare fail, he's going to force Democrats to come crawling, begging to the White House, and then that will begin the process anew. We'll see. So I think the question is, what's Secretary Price going to do? I don't think the legislation that was under consideration, any 3 of those bills would have solved any of the issues in the individual markets. But what's going to happen? Are they going to continue to fund the subsidies for carriers, to continue to encourage them to stay in the exchanges?
I think not.
I think not also. He's indicated as much. Everyone's been doing a month-by-month approach on that issue to date, but we'll see. And if those markets implode, that's not good news for the employer-sponsored markets. So big questions there. Democrats, in the past, McConnell has said just a month ago that if this fails, they're going to be forced to work with Schumer and Democrats on some piecemeal approaches.
Which is completely at odds with what the Trump tweets suggested that they would do in terms of shoring up the individual market. And then the other piece that is out there, and we don't see any evidence that anybody else is talking about this, but there is a provision in the ACA Obama administration never utilized it to create a national benchmark plan that affords HHS the opportunity to negotiate with national plans and national provider networks for a plan that would undermine individual state mandates. And that's a lot of what the conservatives were trying to do through the 1332 waivers and the like. We think they're going to revisit that, and that would be something that would be substantial.
Yeah, we would support that effort.
Finally, I'll mention on, and as we now move on to tax reform with so much at stake there, and how many times have you heard me say that, our number one priority is the preservation of the employer-provided group health insurance marketplace, and the number one tax expenditure is the exclusion from taxation for group health plans, and we feel vulnerable on that. And however, I was in a small meeting with Speaker Ryan, who himself has been willing to go there on taxation of employee benefits, and he acknowledged as much to a group of us that are in the employer community. But he said that he regarded that as a healthcare issue that has been resolved and not a tax reform issue, and that it is, quote, not on the table. That's great news for us, but that was also at a time when he thought the Senate was going to manage to cobble something together. And now the medical device people didn't get their fix, and they're going to be desperate, and they're going to be trying to take that battle to tax reform. How do you see all of that playing out?
I mean, if 7 years and 7 months of trying to repeal and replace Obamacare is any indication, I don't think that tax reform has a lot of momentum behind it right now. I think there's a lot of support in getting something done, but if you see the details, tax reform especially, the devil is in the details on that, right? And the details have been one-pagers to date from both the House and Senate and the White House, and so
I say they're going to
whether
do
we
it,
can
they're
get
just
this
not going
done,
to pay for it.
That's possible too. We'll see.
All right. Well, on that really happy note, we hope your August is a terrific one, and contemplating back to school, and we'll be contemplating back to school here after
Congress,
after the August recess. Thanks for everything, guys.
Thanks.